Inspired by the writings of James A. Michener and Ernest Hemingway and by the mystique of the bullfight, Gary Gray made his first trip to Pamplona, Spain in 1980 and has participated in nearly every encierro, or the running of the bulls, since then. We're pleased to report that he lived, or maybe lives, to tell about it. Gary Gray is a visiting professor of finance at Penn State and a former investment banker. His new book is titled Running with the Bulls: Fiestas, Corridas, Toreros, and an American's Adventure in Pamplona. The book was published by Lyons Press. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be here.
What first drew you to Spain and to the legendary Fiesta of San Fermin?
Well, Ernest Hemingway and his writings with The Sun Also Rises. I was a big fan. The book is a terrific book, and it's a book that lures a lot of Americans to Pamplona and San Fermin.
The centerpiece of that festival is the second week of July and the encierro, or the running of the bulls. What is that celebration all about?
Well, the encierro is a very unique event where the bulls run through the streets of Pamplona. Here you see the runners of San Fermin singing a song to the patron saint. The saint, as you can see, is up in an alcove in the wall, and there are different panuelos or handkerchiefs of the various running groups surrounding it. The rocket is an indicator to everyone in the run that the bulls are being led onto the street. You see a bunch of crazy runners now running down towards the bulls. The bulls are coming up, or they're leaving the corral of Santo Domingo, running up the Calle Santo Domingo. Calle means street in Spanish, and they run as a pack, running up the street, the runners running in front of them, trying to get 20 or 30 or 40 yards in front of the bull's horns before they pass and let the bulls by.
Now, you actually jumped into that melee the first time you went to Spain back in 1980. You were 30 years old, and you wrote, in your book, of course, you wrote about that experience, and I'm going to retell some of that. You write, "My heart throbs, my entire body trembles, I inhale quick gulps of air. Between breaths, I laugh hysterically, uncontrollably, thankfully. I am exhilarated, awestruck. The speed and power of the bulls and the danger and the thrill of this moment leave me weak with sensations I have never felt this intensely before." How does running in that crowd down a narrow cobblestone street compare, let's say, with your days as a linebacker for Penn State?
They're not exactly similar, but you do get a terrific rush out of both. The encierro is more concentrated. Most of the runs are 2 to 3 minutes and a tad more dangerous. The crowd's unbelievable. The thrill is intense, and you have to be there to really experience it.
You say that most Americans approach this encierro as they would a roller coaster ride. They think that it is inherently safe.
Well, unfortunately, that's the way we're often raised here. We're not in harm's way as much as the Europeans are. And perhaps we take lightly the real danger that lurks on the streets of the encierro. There's a saying in Spain that 5% of the runners are Americans and 95% of the injuries are to Americans. It's a very dangerous event, but it's an unbelievably thrilling one.
Now, how do you train? I understand that Pamplona is not the place to go if you want to get a good night's sleep. So I'm wondering, do you train the night before? Is it sangria or is it beer?
Well, whatever it is, you stop about 5 in the morning and you go on to coffee or Pepsi's before the run. But the schedule at San Fermin is unbelievable. You stay awake through the night.
Sleep in your car.
Sleep in your car. You probably sleep from 9 in the morning till 2 in the afternoon, and then you start over again. It's an incredible fiesta.
Now you have participated in this running of the bulls probably 50 times over 20 or so years. And in fact, you say at one point in the book, for many non-natives, San Fermin flows in our veins and becomes a part of us to be renewed and strengthened each year upon our return. Do you get the same rush every time you do this?
Yes, it's just an event that is such a high energy event. so many things happening, so exciting, so thrilling. It's, unless you've been there, it's tough to even imagine it.
It was interesting because one humorist wrote, you know, it's sort of like the Boston Marathon, only it's 25 miles shorter, and you won't get your picture in Sports Illustrated if you come in first.
Well, that's right. The idea, well, most runners try to run with the bulls. They try to put themselves in a bit of danger to experience the thrill, to get the excitement of the event. And if you do that, it's just a terrific thrill.
Now we have some pictures of you. I don't know if this is your first encierro in 1980. Are these pictures from 1980?
They're probably from different years.
Okay, and you actually have been injured before.
Well, I've been partially gored. Nothing that required stitches, but some nicks and tetanus shots required.
Most Americans, and I think you're more aware of this than most because you've brought a lot of people with you to experience this, are still appalled by the bullfights, which are part of the celebrations every day. You say what determines whether someone likes the bullfights or not has more to do with the quality of the matador.
That was a determining factor for me. I had some friends that went over on our first trip, and the first bullfight we saw was in the town of Sevilla, and it was a novillero fight where the matadors are young. They have not graduated to the rank of full matador yet. The bulls are young and not quite as big as at a normal bullfight. And the fight was pretty poor. It was very bloody. It was very gory. It was very difficult to watch. Two of the friends that came with me were very much turned off by it. I wanted to give it another chance, and Katie O'Toole, who's my wife, who was with me also wanted to give it another chance. And the next week we saw a bullfight in Barcelona, where the #1 matador in Spain was performing, and it was a different ritual. It was still bloody and gory and violent and essentially Spanish. It was also beautiful and passionate and very thrilling. And I became a fan of the bullfight from that day on, and probably been to 100 or so. And when it's done well, it's very beautiful. Speaking
of Katie, Spanish women don't run in the encierro, although American women do.
Not many.
Not many.
Maybe 100 women run in the encierro each day. There might be 3,000 runners on a good day. There might be 100 women, most of them foreigners. Spanish women, I think, consider it unfeminine to run in the encierro, whereas Katie and other American and foreign women may be a little more daredevilish about them and want to get out there and get on the streets and participate.
Now, your book, the back cover reads, "At once a rousing adventure of an American man seduced and a beautifully rendered portrait of Spain and her culture. Running with the Bulls is sure to be a classic of travel literature for years to come." When did you get the idea that this would be a good story and a good travel book? Because it is part guidebook, and it is it's filled with sprinkled with history and culture, and with very, very funny asides.
Well, I thank you for those comments and the quote in the back. I didn't write it, so if we live up to that quote, I'll be very happy. Got the idea recently, just last couple of years. I was thinking about the 20 years I've spent in Spain, the funny circumstances that occurred back in 1985, where I was abducted by a group of Spaniards and actually adopted into their home, and I've been going back to visit them ever since. And it's just an unusual story, and I thought it's one that a lot of people might find interesting. So I wanted to put it down and see what happens, and if it turns out to be good, I'll be very pleased.
It's interesting because you say when you first went to Spain, all the Spanish you knew you had learned from Ricky Ricardo. My guess is after 20-some years and having befriended so many people in Spain that your Spanish is a lot better.
Well, my Spanish has improved. In 1980, I'd gone with a friend and Katie and another friend and Marcia Martzoff, and the two women, Katie included, supposedly knew enough Spanish
to get
us by. That turned out not to be the case, and we fumbled through that first trip. But over the years, I picked up enough Spanish to get by through restaurants and places like that, and I study Spanish every year trying to get better, and hopefully that's happening.
Speaking of restaurants, you spend a fair amount of time talking about the experience of dining in Spain. It's unlike the experience of dining in America.
Oh, first of all, most dinners in Spain start after 10 o'clock, and in Pamplona we usually sit down to eat at about 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and they can last 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. We've had 5-hour dinners, we had 4-hour dinners, and people just enjoy the company. They enjoy going through a ritual of dining, and many courses, many drinks. It's just part of the day.
Part of the passion that's Spain.
Oh, Spanish people know how to live. They know how to enjoy life. It's a very, very great country, a very good place to go to.
My guess is because you've an olive complexion and dark hair that you don't stick out like most Americans would. Do you find that, and especially as you've been there more and more often, that you can sort of melt into the scenery and not stick out like a foreigner?
Well, I've been lucky because in 1985 I was adopted by Spaniards, and I've been included in their group, or quadrilla as we call it, the fighting group of, or the partying group associated with Pamplona. So all of my interaction has been with foreigners, with Spaniards. And I feel more like I live in Pamplona when I go over there. We stay with our friends, we stay in their condominium, and we really melt into the Spanish scene. So I think I get along pretty well.
Okay, thanks so much. It was an enjoyable book and one I highly recommend. The book is Running with the Bulls by our guest Gary Gray. The book was published by the Lion Press. If you have story ideas for Take Note, we'd love to hear from you. Send them to Take Note, that's Wagner Annex, University Park, Pennsylvania, 16802. For Take Note, I'm Patty Satalia.
A copy of the program you've just seen can be purchased through Penn State Media Sales at mediasales.psu.edu or by calling 800-770-2111.